The crazy part about YouTube is like a lot of times the audience when you're low, it's just like nothing but hate on your comment section. And when you get a lot of views, it's like nothing but love. So it's like
you're the greatest thing ever.
Right, exactly.
That's
so you saw that
wild.
shift in my career as like where like I would go on Reddit and they would be like the worst sneaker YouTuber is like legit Tim and mine.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Doesn't go underappreciated.
for sure.
Go ahead.
Well, guys, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. New friends, old friends, family. It's really cool to share time and spend these moments like having conversations around what we do. And as a kind of a refresh, Beyond the Craft is a series that Adrian and I are co-hosting, and brainchild initially of Adrian's, and he came to me and introduced the concept to me, and I just fell in love with it. And something that we both gel on so much, or having these enriching conversations with each other. And we figured why not explore further enriching conversations that we're having with people in our community. So this is the podcast. This is the show.
Love it.
Before we jump in, I'd love to get like little introductions from you guys and gals and gal on y'all, so that we can kind of intro you to the audience.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm Simone, and I'm super excited to be here today. I'm originally from New Orleans, and I am a creative producer at Google, and I also have my own wardrobe styling and creative consulting business called Monafied Studios.
Don't be slaying the fits.
We were on the phone and I was like, it's very lax, and she's like, but I'm gonna come in hot.
Hot as hell. She's like hot.
I was
Yeah.
like, come as you
Full
are,
glam.
girl.
She said full glam
She said
Yeah.
full glam.
on a Friday afternoon. Friday.
You too, dude? You look. This is
No,
the
well,
other.
that's actually, I mean, Taylor and I have known each other for years at this point, but I think one of the first things that we connected on was we look like we're brother and sister, and there's not a ton of people that look like us in Austin, and just the style. We've always been able to connect on style, and that was even before I'd like identified styling as one of my like creative outlets that I was gonna like really own and make into a business and all that. So I said, don't be fooled by the monotone and baritone, because I'm gonna come ready.
Yeah, totally.
So
Take that.
Came in hot from Paris.
Right.
Just hopped off the flight. Well, cool. Thanks for being here, Simone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
For sure.
My name is Ryan Springer. I'm from Dripping Springs, just outside of town. For work, I started a venture capital fund in 2020 called Midnight, and we invest in wellness brands. And, that's whether it's a filtered shower head or something you find at Whole Foods or Walmart, just that kind of thing. We try to help them with retail and D2C and operations, and then usually we invest checks of like $500K to $1 million. The fund's about 20 million. And then the other thing I do is called High Desert. And it's a Cactus vodka. It's in this little glass right here.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's hand harvested from San Luis Potosi, Mexico, and then we distill it in San Antonio, and we're just in Austin right now. And we're trying to bring art and process to vodka because it's kind of just missing.
Sure.
And then tequila and whiskey have all these cool tequila and whiskeys, all these stories. And there's
Yeah.
nothing in vodka. So that's me and my partner's goal is to bring some fun back to that category.
Sweet.
And
Cool.
I'm really excited to be here with you guys. This is awesome.
That's cool. All the connections.
Right?
Austin, San Antonio,
Totally.
arts. All of, I love it.
Liquor.
Liquor.
So I guess it's me, right? So I'm kind of new. I'm kind of new to drinking. I think I'm
Jen had his
25. I'm
first shot on the
25, so
show.
I'm 25, so I'm the youngest in the group. I think. I don't know how you are. You look really young as well. But I am a creative as well. I honestly. Can you guys respect my time? I didn't laugh for you, okay? So I just, no, but seriously, I want to look at this camera instead of you because I'm so used
Spike
to doing
it, bro.
it.
You just gotta spike it.
Right. So I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And I started when I was 11 years old out of San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
What year was that?
Back in, I believe it was 2009 when YouTube was like fresh on the scene.
Sick.
It was like fresh on the scene. Saved up my chore money, bought a $50 camera from Walmart.
I love it.
And just started making videos. And my parents deleted my channel 5 times because it wasn't safe in 2009, right? and just kept pursuing, you know, and glory to God, you know, we made it a career. So dropped out of college and stuff. So here we are now.
Love it.
2.5 million followers later.
Right. Glory to God. Yeah.
They deleted it 5 times.
Right.
09
But I
was
get
like
why.
peak, like people on YouTube, like not safe as well.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
That was when like YouTube was like the primary channel
Yeah.
as well.
And at 11 years old, I was like making jokes about like my underwear and stuff. So like,
Yeah.
my mom was like, "You need to get this off now. Like there are perverts online."
Like
You
1/3
know?
of your followers
It's like,
are just
Mom,
like,
Right.
I just want to read Captain Underpants and be Captain
Yeah,
Underpants in real
exactly.
life.
yeah, right.
Like the grumpy old man
So-
down the street.
Yeah. No, so super unsafe, but you know that's what I do now, and we do a little bit of TikTok, Snapchat, and all the rest, but mainly YouTube. So I want to make sure that by the end of this, Simone really likes me, so I can get boosted in the algorithm.
Let's go.
You know,
That's great.
Yeah.
Always finding an angle.
right?
Love it.
I think it's been super cool. I mean, Ryan and I got connected with you because of the whole like High Desert Vodka. It was very appealing to me when you spoke about your partners and how excited you were about working with them. And I like to go into that a little bit because there's just like there's healthy partnership and there's just like partnership that falls through.
Mhm.
So like how do you get into a healthy partnership, or how do you find a partner?
I don't think there's one answer to that, but I got a bunch of advice to never partner with your friends. And so I went out and partnered with only my friends. I've only ever partnered with my friends. And now I'll never partner with someone who's
Same
not.
way. Like collab on everything.
And I think the reason for that was I needed to know, even if we lost, that I could trust the person next to me kind of in the foxhole, that they were just going to give everything they had. And that's sort of how it's gone. There's just moments where it's very tough. When you're raising a fund, it's an incredibly humbling process because you just get told no by a bunch of old dudes over and over and over again because you're trying to raise 20 million, and that's just an enormous amount of money. And I needed partners who were just going to keep taking the punches and rolling and just keep going and black eyes the next day, but you're still like, hey, you know, we got this idea. And I needed people I could trust to do that. And so I understand the group that says don't partner with friends. I'm the complete opposite. If you know them well enough, I think you can understand how it's going to go. At least you should if they're your good friends. And so that's I'm not sure that's good advice for everyone, to be honest.
Right.
But that worked really well for me. And what's been special about my partners is just, you know, I'll go into the office on a Sunday and they're both there, and we all see each other and we're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we
they're
didn't text
partners.
each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just show up and we push each other all the time,
Yeah.
constantly making fun of each other. And, you know, everything's a joke, but we also take it really seriously at the same time. So
I think
that
it was
is
very
cool.
fascinating when you said you have people around you that there's no option. Like failure's not an option.
Yeah. So
Burn the boats.
one of my partners, I think you've met him, Alex Bodney.
Yeah.
We played college basketball together, and he played. I just had really good seats to every games on the bench. And yeah, he would show up. He was a freshman. I was a sophomore. He would show up 30 minutes early every practice. His socks were pressed. He was like a 52-year-old man at 18, and he was so intense. And he just didn't understand. If he lost, he would have a meltdown. I was so impressed with him, and we weren't even friends because I was partying a lot in college and he wasn't, and we weren't enemies, we just weren't buddies. He moved here, we had both kind of come to the middle more personality wise, became friends, and when we just started to start the fund, I was like, this is the perfect guy, because it's like everyone who ever works with him, like he started the Dell match play in town, and putting that together was unbelievable. He was part of a group of 3 that did that, and he just has this energy and this intensity and this the no option thing. He doesn't consider what a loss would look like. You know,
He doesn't even give it the energy.
No. It's we're gonna raise 20 million, and there's no world where that doesn't happen to him.
I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, 100%. If you had to if you had to rob a bank, I think you would have done that.
I love it. I think it's so cool, like talking about this, because I think this, to most people, raising capital might not look as like a creative, like service, right, or a creative process. And I think the exact opposite. I think it's super creative. I think it takes a skill set and it's an art form to really like capitalize on the opportunities of raising capital for companies. And you're doing it within a firm where you're going out and raising not only for your own fund, but for the companies that you're working with, right?
Yeah, and the 2 areas I would say it's creative is, number one, in order to be different, you have to be creative in terms of what are you going to bring to the table that's not out there.
Yeah.
For us, it was ability to add value. The guy who ran half of Whole Foods Market for 15 years, his name's Ken Meyer. We brought him in as a partner. The guy who did all the D2C for Super Coffee and Freshly and Daily Harvest and multiple $100 million, $1 billion D2C brands, we brought him in. We split the pie more than most funds. So our ability to like not just write a check, but also help enormously.
Yeah.
And having been in the trenches and lost a bunch of times, we're not the usual like, why didn't you hit your numbers? Instead, it's like, we were there with you. We understand why. Let's figure out what we're going to do next.
Yeah.
And then the other creative part is your portfolio. You need to add the value to the brands. You need to be creative on who you're networking, how you connecting the dots. Surprising amount of creativity. It's not just Excel sheets.
Yeah. Tim,
Yes.
the young gun,
Right here.
the gunner's in the house.
Ready?
You're planning a big move coming up, yeah?
Yeah. Planning a big move in June.
How's that feel?
Going to Los Angeles. Feels amazing, honestly, going back. So it's kind of crazy because every time I'm there, at least, it kind of feels like when you're flying into LAX, you feel like this energy, dude, like pulsating through the whole city. And I think that Austin has that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But LA just, every time you're there, it feels like you're in a movie. Like, it really feels like you're in a movie. And I'm ready to be back in that movie.
That's amazing. What's calling you
know?
there beyond that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, there's a lot of opportunities this time, like, lined up for me. So it's like, one of them is, I'm about to sign a contract with Jimmy Kimmel, just started a management agency. And they have, a massive umbrella of things that they're doing. And so we're about to sign in with them. And what they're going to do is kind of help me take my career to the next level.
Yeah.
A lot of things that they do is, like, they help people cross over from digital to traditional. And so, they produce, like, the Hype House show on Netflix and things like that.
Cool.
So I think, like, going with them, my first passion was acting before the social media thing happened. And, I remember coming to Austin when I was, 14, 15 years old, going to auditions and doing extra work for, like, some of the shows that they were running here. I'm already 25. Me and Beth are talking about having kids pretty soon. And so I'm kind of like, I want this final, like, I got to make it happen now or never.
Yeah.
Totally. And so now that COVID's over, I'm ready to go.
Just go. Get
ready
after
to go,
it.
yeah.
That's
I like
amazing.
that pressure you're putting on yourself at 25.
I'm like, do it. Keep it.
Yeah,
Do not
yeah.
let anybody blow that flame
I
out,
have to.
man.
I have to.
That's it.
Right?
That's
Because
the
we only
energy.
get one life, so
Totally. I love
right.
it.
kind of like,
And I hear you say we. Are you referring to Beth, or do you have a larger team that you're working
No,
with?
so I'm actually referring to Beth. A lot of my friends that they kind of helped me grow the channel, but we were gonna move them to LA as well, but they want to stay in San Antonio.
Okay, cool.
So they're all based out of San Antonio. So
Nice.
another thing that this company is gonna help with is they actually produce content for YouTubers. So producers, writers, editors, filmers, the whole thing.
Nice.
So
Wow.
what I want to work with them on is like producing TV show episodes, 25 to 30 minutes on my channel and kind of like doing something that I feel like hasn't been done yet.
Nice.
It's kind of crazy, but
I love that. And so
looking
you're
forward
kind of
to it.
running two parallels, right? Like you've got your YouTube platform and as like
Right.
the creator, environment that you grew up in.
Right.
That's probably been extremely formative for you and just in your style, right?
Right.
But then you also have this passion of wanting to pursue acting.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing with the YouTube thing is like I've been doing YouTube full time for almost 8 years.
Okay.
And so that business is kind of operating on its own already. We kind of know what kind of content to make for it. So I think like with the help of this production company, I want to be at the point where like I kind of step away from like overlooking everything and they kind of help me. So it's like at the point to where I just show up and I can just be myself and I can be that entertainer.
Cool.
Because overall, I mean, I love creating content, but I think my passion is just like I just like performing. I like making people laugh. I like making people smile. And
You'll
so
have that infrastructure in place so that you can
Right.
focus more on just fully being a creative and
Exactly.
also expand outside of the YouTube, whether
Right,
that be like
100%.
pitching your own content. That's really exciting.
Right. So and
Yeah.
that's the thing too is like people my manager is kind of like, well, why don't we use your brand to like pitch a TV show? But I really want to
You
show people like
Differentiate.
Yeah, I mean my content on YouTube is like sneaker hype beast based, but I don't want to always be known as that guy.
Yeah.
I want to prove to Hollywood that I can actually act.
Yeah.
In a TV show or a sitcom or.
Where do you
see
see
it. I
yourself?
see it.
Like,
What do I-
in a more serious and a more
Yeah, I mean
comedy?
definitely not more serious. I definitely don't want to. Honestly,
But
I was.
that's diversity. That's pressure.
Right. No, and I think we could challenge myself to do that for
dynamics.
sure. But I think when I think about myself and I think about what type of role would I like to play, I think about Will Smith in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was cool, like he had that swagger to him, but he was goofy. Like he made people laugh, and I feel like that is me. That's like who I am. But honestly, I would love to start in like a Nickelodeon. Shave
Cool.
off the facial hair and just play a high schooler, play a high school kid, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
You could do it.
I think that's kind of like where I wanna
Totally.
start.
You got
like
baby face on
like
on lock for sure.
like an iCarly or something.
Yeah,
you
that'd be
know?
cool.
I mean, I think that'd be dope.
Simone, you've got a kind of similar thing going on too.
Which part?
Well, I mean, just you're like launching into one career that I think is probably the most sought after job in Austin is to work for Google.
Right.
And you do it. You've got it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're launching, Monafide Studios and your styling business. And,
Yeah.
And so what's the parallel?
Bonafide Studios is launched. I started that in 2020.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of just an extension of, I've been doing creative production in various capacities for
Yeah.
like 10 plus years. So
Yeah.
I started my career just like grinding in the music industry here. Started as an intern, a marketing intern for Score for anybody who
Oh, yeah.
is OG
Sasha
Austin.
Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claire.
And then
Oh, geez.
yeah. Shout out to Sasha and Claire. And then, when I moved to New York, I took my experience from working in music and transitioned to experiential production with a focus of working with like fashion and luxury brands. So I was doing a lot of fashion shows and presentations and like influencer events and
Yeah.
like really like high profile galas for like high net worth individuals and things like that. I had an opportunity they like needed someone to fill in for like the PR wing of the production company I was working for at the time. Needed like a production manager to help manage all the talent for this like Gap shoot. I didn't know what I was walking into, and it was called Bridging the Gap with Edward Enninful. It was like right before his time at Vogue. It was before he announced he was going to British Vogue.
yeah.
And it was like Miles Chamley Watson and Wiz Khalifa, and like it was like Yara Shahidi. It was
Yeah.
just Adwoa Boa, and it was digital. So I went from doing like overnight loadouts for like a Pottery Barn holiday presentation in the middle of July, just the lowest of the low, and like just like my creative expression, to like being on set, getting exposed to this like digital kind of like treatment of production that I had never experienced before. And so from that point on, I just totally shifted to being a digital producer.
Cool.
Worked through freelance for a couple years in New York until I became the head of production at Cornerstone, which is the sister agency to the Fader.
Okay.
Did that
That's how
through the
we-
pandemic.
Yeah. That's how we initially got connected, I think.
Yes.
For Afropunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did that for like through the pandemic for a couple years until I got this very unexpected, like was at the point where I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna stay in production because
Yeah.
I'd been on the agency side for so long. I was feeling so burnt out. And then I got this random outreach from Google, and that was almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August that I've been with Google. So it's been pretty amazing. And it's the first time that I've worked somewhere that I can also have the space, I feel, to like do something creative for myself and have that balance.
Yeah.
Like everybody during the pandemic, you start like thinking more critically about like your relationship with your creativity and like, why do I feel so strongly about this? And like extended that further to like the matriarchs in my family and my mom and my grandmother. And like, it was always, I like made the connection that style was always a way for them to like feel seen and be heard when they were in environments as like marginalized people that like weren't.
I want to take it back like 2 steps, just because
yeah.
where you're going to now in the conversation, I think it provides a really cool. I want to hear more about the story, really.
Yeah.
Meeting Edward Enninful and like being on
Yeah.
set with him, like
Yeah.
how inspiring could
Yeah.
that? I mean, what was that experience like?
I mean,
and if you guys don't know who that is, Edward Enninful was the editor-in-chief of British Vogue, creative producer, stylist, fashion icon.
He's a
truly,
fashion icon.
Truly, and to be on set of Gap, Bridging the Gap.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well,
for
it
you?
was kind of crazy because it was in a month of, like, it was 2 Gap shoots that were in like within 6 months of each other. So I did that, and then I got to fly out to LA and did a 90s archive reissue shoot with like 90s models and kids, of which now, like, that was before Nepo babies was a thing. So it was like Diana Ross's son,
Cool.
and Demi Moore's daughter, Rumor Willis. Naomi Campbell was the star, and she wore the same outfit that she wore in the 90s campaign that she did. It was the first, she considered it to be one of the first, like, things that gave her a chance. So between those two shoots, it was like Priyanka Chopra was in one of them, and it was just like, what is this? Like, I went from just feeling so like kind of deflated to like just having a spark of like, I can actually do whatever I want, like very similar to what you were talking about. It's like the belief is the first thing, and like belief, you can't be like delusional about it, but like I actually am capable of this level up. I'm the only person that's like holding me back. Yeah.
When you reached that inflection point, were you nervous that it wasn't going to keep going? Were you determined to network your way to keep it going? Was there like pressure on it? I imagine you'd feel pressure to be like, I got to make sure this isn't just a blip on the radar. This is like a new level.
I mean, I think I acknowledged in that circumstance that like that was a very special situation that's not going to happen all the time. And I think my general attitude is just like I'm never really like seeking out those things. It's not really what it's about for me, but like I do find myself in situations where I'm with like I'll meet crazy people, and I think it's just because I don't really put pressure or like have expectations. I think being in those rooms is a reminder that like we're all just human, and like we obviously people can be lucky, but like all of those people are very hardworking and have been doing it. I mean, Edward at this point is probably in his 50s, so he's like a bit of a legend, and I think for me it's just a reminder of like you can be in those rooms, and like the only person getting in your way is like you if you don't believe it.
Right.
Did you have imposter syndrome? Did you deal with that?
Oh my God, for years. Yeah. I mean, my 4 years living in New York were some of like the most difficult, but also the most rewarding. Like I can say with confidence that like if I hadn't cut my teeth in New York and just had those nights that were like I can just viscerally remember this night that I had this Pottery Barn holiday presentation where buyers from different distributors like come out and they can preview the season of all of the next season of Pottery Barn holiday, and I had to like display like thousands of like ornaments and stuff, and it was like an unusually hot day in New York in July. And then I had to do this overnight loadout, and I was just like, in that moment, I was like, oh yeah, this is like peak struggle. And I'm like, this is where I don't ever want to be again. And I made it a promise to myself that day that like I was never going to put like, you just like through these experiences, you learn how to like set boundaries, and you learn like what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. But all of those experiences ladder up to the thing, and I do really feel like my time at Google now is like, so like I had imposter syndrome for many years, like, you know, around that, but around other things as well. And I think for me it's just like I've come to a place of peace and acceptance that like everything that's happening for me right now is like beyond deserved, and I
think those shit times are required.
Yeah.
Not only to earn your way, but
For
then
sure.
it actually does away with imposter syndrome over time. I still have it, but you
I
every
think
once in a
something
while
about getting in your 30s too. You're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah, you're just like, I'm
at
just
a
a
certain
bro.
point, you're like, I'm an adult. Like,
Yeah.
I worked really hard for
Yeah.
this. I have that
Right.
like 50-foot bird's eye view of like separation from
Right.
me, looking at me in my 20s, just like, you'll figure it out
Yeah,
one day. But like,
exactly.
you do need those. Those are the things that gave me the ability to come back to a place like Austin, and I feel like my work ethic and output is just like optimized in a way that
You
like,
earned it in New York at a Pottery
oh my
Barn
God, you don't lose that work ethic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
It's wild to hear
there's
me.
nothing.
It's for me to hear you, Ryan, say that you deal with imposter syndrome, because from the outside, as a friend of yours, like you're the guy who like fills the room every time I like whenever I'm in it. I'm like I see Ryan. I'm like, yo, Ryan's arrived. Like you have such a big energy. So to hear someone like you say that, it's interesting. I'd love to hear you kind of like talk about that more.
Well, don't have a financial background, and in VC, there's just a lot of, you know, it took a lot of like pretending I understood what people were talking about
Yeah.
in the beginning.
That's
You know
what I'm
I mean?
doing on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome, yeah.
Oh, when they're talking about that world, yeah, I'm also
Right.
like, man, wow, this is deep. You know, somehow I think everyone deals with it.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And even the great artists, you see them when they're later years trying to live up to their self before, and then they're like, I'm not Elton John anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I might have picked the exact wrong guy. I think he always thinks he's Elton John. But, you know, like, I
Bad
think other
example.
people, like, you know, you're always chasing this ghost. When people are like, you're an entrepreneur, I'm like, and I've started 2 companies, I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Am I just fucking figuring it, you know? Like, I think when you start to realize that no one knows what they're doing,
Right.
that helps.
Exactly.
And you're always on the journey.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's no end. Like
Totally.
you're
They
always
said,
working towards
they
it.
said the entrepreneur is a person that likes to keep on creating something.
Right.
It's like he's not a businessman. An entrepreneur is just wants
That's a
to
good way
create.
of putting it.
An entrepreneur is not thinking about the
Right.
numbers; they're just thinking about creating something.
Right.
A businessman is
Yeah.
thinking about the P&L.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And entrepreneurs are
Yeah.
famously, that's why
They're just like, when I
That
created it,
checks
it's like
out.
I'm
Right.
going to something else.
Yeah.
I gotta.
they
create something
typically
more.
do. Or if they stick around, they
That
keep
checks out.
iterating.
They'll see.
With what you do, I've been, you know, at the venture fund, we deal with influencers all the time.
Right.
I wonder how do you think of brand partnerships? It's a boring question for everyone
Yeah.
else here. It's super interesting to me.
I love.
How do you
that.
monetize
Right.
it? What does that? How do you bet on certain like affiliate programs?
Right.
Like all that stuff.
So
is
to
so
me,
interesting to me.
first of all, I never do.
And how
affiliate
did you put
programs.
yourself out there and just what
Right.
was it like when your videos had 12 views?
Right. I mean, I think like the crazy part about YouTube is like a lot of times the audience when you're low, it's just like nothing but hate on your comment section. And when you get a lot of views, it's like nothing but love. So it's like
Like, you're the
it's
greatest thing ever.
Right, exactly. So
That's
you saw that
wild.
shift in my career as like where like I would go on Reddit and they would be like the worst sneaker YouTuber is like legit Tim and mine. You know, and like now it's like I have a fan base that like they just like all the comments are just like love, 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 love. But I think it was just like such a hard like you have to develop like thick skin.
Yes.
You really have to have
But was
thick
it cool
skin.
when you saw that comment and you're like, so they know who I am. I'm part of the conversation.
But at like 15,
On Reddit?
at 15,
Reddit,
that would
yeah.
be so brutal.
Right, no, yeah. I had
Oh
to go
yeah,
through-
that's a good
Wait,
point.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you remember like a distinct point when you were like, oh, it seems like things are turning around and people aren't like throwing so much shade?
I know what it was. I know exactly
Yes,
what it was
yes,
because
let's
I
go.
make videos. I make video about shoes, right?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I didn't have any money for sneakers, so my content was going to thrift stores, searching for gems, searching for Jordans, right,
cool.
for like
Cool.
$6. And so a lot of the older guys used to watch it. It was like the OGs, right? It was like this kid doesn't know da 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 da. And then I was like, I don't like these guys. I don't want to make videos for these guys. I want to make videos for kids. And so whenever I started making videos for like middle schoolers, high schoolers, like that's when it was like all positive comments.
Yeah.
It really
cool.
depends on your fan base because it doesn't matter if you make gaming videos. If you have an older demographic and you have a bunch of old guys watching you, it's just hate. It's still hate.
So you had to find your demo.
Yeah, I had to find my demo and I had to find because I was very high energy, right? And the old guys didn't really like that.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh man, look at this clown." But when the kid, but I was like, nobody's making videos for the kids.
They're
Like
like,
nobody's
gotta
making
put
shoe
captions
videos for the
on.
kids. So I saw that gap and when I realized like, dude, the kids like love it. Like they love the high energy.
Yeah.
That's when I think I really started
Found your
thriving.
audience.
Speaking of brand deals though, I think like, you know, brands have helped me in a crazy way, man. Like I think when I just turned 18, right, there was this brand that came to me and they were paying me $200 a week for 5 seconds in one video. And it was just like a little ad read, but it was like for 4 weeks, it was $800. So I was able to move out of my mom's house and get my first apartment because of that brand deal. And ever since then, you know, I think like the way that we
What was
pitch
the brand?
ourselves to brands, what's that?
Yeah,
What was the brand?
It was called Cat Beast. I don't even really think they do it anymore, but it was like custom hats or whatever.
Got it.
But usually influencers will just put their emails on the bottom of the videos or like in their TikTok bio and stuff like that. So now my wife handles all the brand deals for me. I don't do it anymore, but and she constantly outreaches. And so I've kind of developed almost like a system right now where I like become friends with every manager in LA, but I don't sign with them exclusively. So I'm friends with like every manager that does brand deals in LA. So I have like 10 people constantly, and anytime they have a deal, they're just like throw it at me. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like if they
It's the reverse management deal.
Right.
Like all the old school managers had to know all the artists back in the day. Like if
Right.
everybody was like, oh yeah, I might be managing this guy. Like I'm going to be managing this guy. I didn't manage
Yep.
shit.
Yep.
And they would just be around town being like, oh yeah, I've got this talent. But now you're flipping it.
Right.
Because
So-
it supports, it's like, that's what the creator, what is it? The creator economy is about.
Right,
Right,
exactly. So, and like for me, now I'm getting an exclusive manager just because I want somebody that's going to fight for more than brand deals, more like a career. But I don't want him to say like, oh no, we can't work with everybody else. Because I'm friends with everybody, and it's like anytime that they, like I said, their client has something that fits in my realm, they'll pass it down to me. Cool. So that's kind of like how I do it most of the time. Yeah, I mean, brand deals, it has to go with your demographic, right? Like it has to, like I wouldn't do well pitching your brand because my demo is really young, middle school kids. Right?
So it's still middle school kids now. Like
Yes.
years
I
and
would
years
say,
later.
you know what's crazy? It's getting younger.
Wow.
So like we spoke about Edward.
cool, yeah.
He actually reconnected with me because his son won't
No
stop
way.
watching me.
That's
He's
so
like, bro,
cool.
I hear your videos in my living room all the time.
I hear you.
and his son's like 11 years old. So like I sent him like a happy
Do you ever
birthday.
do you ever
like-
just go to like a Foot Locker and hang out? A bunch of little kids are like,
so
oh my
dude,
gosh.
so that's the crazy part, right? So and I've never
You
spoke
get
about
like
this,
paid
but
about those appearances. So
Right,
be
no,
fun.
so I've never spoke about this, but I'll speak about it on this podcast, okay? So years back, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was making a lot of viral videos at Foot Locker, but I would do stupid stuff like I would do like wearing fake Jordans to Foot Locker, or like I'd go to with the employee, I'd like go to the employees. I did this one video where I went to like, I bought an Air Max sneaker and like popped the air bubble, and then I tried to return it with a popped air bubble.
Oh.
So things like that, like where we just mess with them.
Yeah.
But I would also do good things. Like I
That's
did a
so
video
smart.
where I bought all the employee sneakers and stuff like that, right? And basically, the DM of San Antonio Foot Locker was like, we're banning this guy. He cannot come and film in our stores anymore. And they fired all the workers that were in my videos.
No way.
What?
Meanwhile,
The
though,
GM?
GM, DM, I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's like a district manager.
Yeah, district manager,
Yeah.
right?
What
But
is
he was,
what?
he, I
That's
was,
such a dumb
That's
move.
the worst
The
move
amount
ever.
of marketing Foot Locker was getting for free
it's
from you.
crazy, bro, because if you would Google Foot Locker, 10 of my videos would pop up. First search.
Crazy.
Some of the CMO Foot Locker was like, what happened?
Right.
How did we let
Meanwhile-
that kid stop making videos?
Dude, meanwhile, while San Antonio was banning me, they were still sending me PR packages from the corporate office. It didn't make any sense at all, dude. It
Wild.
makes no sense at all. I have no idea. And so backpedal though, like we did the same thing with GameStop. However, GameStop gave us permission. Like the manager was like allowing me to film in there. So anything that we would do, he would like approve of it. And like we got really good connections with them. They were the #1 store in America.
Crazy.
That's
Which one?
incredible.
The one in North Star Mall.
Damn.
They were the #1 store
Oh,
in America.
wow.
And at Foot Locker, my boy was the #1 seller in Texas because of the content.
That's awesome.
So it's like
Yeah,
if-
that's why I
if-
think the Foot Locker CMO must have been like, what? How did
Yeah.
we lose
right.
that?
So if Foot Locker would have been smart like GameStop, you know,
Yeah, 100%.
they would have crushed it.
Have you seen? I watched. I don't have social media, but I every once in a while I get on YouTube and I get addicted. The YouTube Shorts
Right.
just show up and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah,
I've probably seen
no,
you
for
on
sure.
there somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's an ad for Chili's. And it's not an ad. It's a video that's supposedly making fun of Chili's. But he mentions the price points and stuff. And I'm like, this is an ad for Chili's.
It could be an integration.
It,
really could be.
100%. I think that's absolutely the
Right.
future of marketing.
Yeah, 'cause
there's a
there's
bunch
different-
of viral videos where he's like making fun of
Right.
Chili's, but in a way that's
Cross-psychological.
endearing and makes it sound delicious, and also
Right, because there's different forms of ads as well. you
oh
know?
yeah, but that's a sneaky one.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean?
No,
Like that's really
100%.
not. It's never gonna say sponsored on
100%.
it. Nothing
Yeah.
like that.
And I don't do affiliate. Only
don't do
because
affiliate? Why not?
I don't do affiliate because I feel like it's unfair. I don't know. I never tried affiliate. I probably should for like a Fashion Nova or like a Culture Kings or something. But I just feel like if they're giving me they usually give you a window. Like, okay, however many you sell in 48 hours. But it's like we're literally putting this online forever, and
Right.
they might not purchase it immediately, but like. If somebody talks about this wine, right, today,
Right.
I'm not going to go buy the wine today, but it's going to be in my head, so I might buy it a month from now.
Right.
Totally.
You know, so I feel like, I don't know.
What steps are you taking to capture that now? Like,
What's that?
What those kind of opportunities? You know, like people who are, if you have like an affiliate deal, I guess you're not doing affiliate,
Right.
yet, but if you were doing affiliate, like how would you track that? You know?
I mean, I think it's trackable, but like a lot of these brands just like put windows on it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem.
That's
heard-
it. Go ahead.
I heard this one thing on YouTube where they had this video that went viral, and it was like, you know, was that a couple mil, I think, views? They changed the thumbnail. It was a video from like 3 years ago, or maybe even longer.
You just switched it.
Changed the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Got a couple mil more.
I do that on listing photos all
Goes
the time.
deep.
It is
I do that on my
crazy.
listings.
It goes so
Like,
deep.
every
So
week
it's
I
like
change the photos
all
out.
they did was change the thumbnail, and then it made them more money.
Yeah.
I freaking hate thumbnails, dude. I
And
think
it was so
yeah.
like it was such a like that micro like change was like another return on investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
If your
That's
thumbnail is
nuts.
bad, it can take a video from like 30,000 views to like 30 million. Like just because that's like the like basically like the
How do you
ad
make
that
a
you're
good
clicking on.
thumbnail? What is a good thumbnail?
A good thumbnail nowadays is like super bright colors. It's really like finessing. So like putting stuff in the video that wasn't there. So like if you're doing a video about a train, right? You would want a really, really good Photoshop editor to go super in detail to make it look like you're about to get run over by a train.
Right, like our train's exploding or something.
Yeah, like, but
noticed that.
it has to like be crazy, but like it's not actually happening, but it looks so
There's
real that it's
guidelines
happening.
like for any
Right,
kind of
of
like
course.
niche
Just this room exploding.
subcategory, but like
Right,
I'm
right.
sure it also like anything just changes over time.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you have to be like when you're in it, you're like saying something super specific that will be irrelevant maybe in like
Right.
a year and a half to 2 years.
Right.
So it's like goes through like in phases. That's really interesting though.
Your next thumbnail is gonna be you in the
What is- yeah, what
the
is-
red moon boots.
The red moon.
The, you're
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
the,
No, because it's already tired.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the thing.
And so that's the
had
thing,
a
yeah.
I
life
wanted
of-
to get a pair
so they,
of those.
yeah, so
I wanted to
they,
get
I think it'd be so
those.
funny if I showed up in those.
so Mischief
bottle.
actually hit me up. They actually hit me up.
Yeah, you're the guy.
Yeah, you're the guy.
So they reached out.
How did you not
Did
have
Justin
content
get them
on
from
there?
you?
No, that was from
Okay.
Nice Kicks. That was
Okay.
from Matt.
I was like, that'd be wild.
So Mischief reached out right after they did the Satan shoe.
Yeah.
I thought it was so weird. They were putting blood in the shoe, so I was like, I don't want to work with this company. They're really weird. And then they did the big red boots, and I was like, can I have a pair? And they're like, sorry, we're sold out. So if I would have worked with them,
Yeah.
right, like before, I would have had those big red boots. But now it's like she was saying, if I order them now, I think there was like a 6-week wait time for them.
No,
So by the time they
wait
come
out.
in, doing content wouldn't even be relevant, you know. But if I had them and I would have done a video, like it would have done, you know,
Tim
crazy
said,
viral.
"Not today, Satan."
Right, yeah, I was just weirded out. I was like, dude, what is this? I was like, I don't know. I don't want to promote this.
Trying to, demons and 6th graders.
It was just very, yeah.
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 You know your demo.
I mean, most of the shoe guys turned it down anyways. There was one guy that accepted and his video went viral with them.
Do you how well do you know the other shoe guys? How many of them
I would
do you
say pretty
there
well.
are?
I kind of like stay in my lane, just because I don't like getting in like influencer drama and stuff. And there's a lot of that goes around.
I bet. But
So-
doesn't that also increase views?
I guess so. I guess you could chase it like that, but I also feel like it hurts brands. Because like if you look at somebody like Mr. Beast, he's like squeaky clean, right? And so it's like that's why he's
Yes, he
crossing over
is.
these crazy deals.
It's also like you're like a veteran at this point.
Right.
And I think there's something really cool about this like community of you guys that have like very much distinct and established brands, and you're kind of like one of the OGs at this point.
Right,
So it's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
you have the longevity of your career at this point to have the foresight to be like, yeah, like I could do that, but like, or I could just
Mm-hmm.
stick to doing this thing that I was kind of like one of the people who like pioneered your style of what
Right,
you're
and like
doing.
speaking of like being an OG, I think the thing about me is like the game is like always changing. It's constantly changing. So you're talking about like YouTube Shorts with just short form content, and most of the people that I kind of like came up with are like staying away from it. They're like, no, you know that stuff's dumb. But it's like you gotta change for the times, man.
Totally.
You really have to.
When are you gonna launch your own brand? Mr. Beast has Feastables and Beast Burger.
Dude, I'm so focused on content creation that it's like so
Probably
tough
smart.
for me to like. I would have to bring somebody on full time.
There's groups that do it.
Right.
I know a couple groups that do it very
Really?
well. They'll create the brand for you, and then they like split the company with you.
Mhm.
And essentially,
Right.
they do it all, and then
Right.
you do the marketing, and you're the creative vision.
Yeah. No, 100%.
They're cool. We looked at investing in them.
Did you?
Yeah, we just didn't end up. CAA's got a great one.
Okay.
Called Caravan,
Okay.
and they'll like make the brand for the celebrity.
That is
And
so
it's
cool.
they
I
did
really
House with Lady Gaga,
Not
or
the- no, no.
HAUS. It sold for a couple billion.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane how
And
well
for me,
they
I
do.
really feel like that's where the big play comes in. Is like let me celebritize my name
Yeah.
and then come out with the product
Totally.
because those are killer. you know?
Exactly.
That's what's crushing it.
Right.
So,
So you need is
you know.
shitty tequila.
Right,
Everyone on earth has done
right.
that. Every celebrity has a tequila.
So what would you do? What
Dude,
product?
honestly, I have
Yeah,
no
come on,
idea.
that's
That's the
different.
problem. I guess like a shoe line would be probably the best fitting, but I don't
I know a
really-
stylist.
Yeah.
Could you partner with Nike or someone like that and have your own logo?
Nike doesn't care about influencers. They don't care about
Interesting.
influencers at all.
What do they care about?
Athletes.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. I
And
showed up to.
rappers.
Yeah, I was at the Zion Williamson speech for All-Star Weekend.
Interesting.
And you know, Zion even watches YouTubers. Like he watches some of my friends and stuff. But like I walked in and like I met the people with Air Jordan. They were real nice, but like they didn't really like take the time to like talk to me. They were more like, oh, Zion's coming in, you know. But it's like they don't realize like sometimes we could have more pull than athletes,
Way
you know,
more.
if it was done correctly.
Dude, way more. There's no athletes that can do what Feastables has done. Feastables has gone from 0 to 40 million in a year in revenue
Right.
at Walmart. I mean,
Well,
he's gonna hit 100 next year.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, look at Prime.
100, yes.
Prime's doing like I
It's an
think
excellent
200
thing.
or something.
And they've got some really bad ingredients. Don't drink this.
Dude, it's all like potassium and stuff.
Oh, there's like erythritol, I think, and other sugar alcohols that you don't want to touch.
Really?
Allulose, yeah.
Dude, sometimes I'm drinking like 3 of those a day.
And it's not messing up your stomach? You might be all right.
No, I mean, I can't really
No.
talk bad about them. They send me free stuff, so I'm just.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll cut that part out.
No, it doesn't mess up my stomach. No, I don't think.
Good.
Actually, you know what? It is a good cleanser.
Yeah.
I immediately have to go to the bathroom after.
He's sharp with it, right?
Oh,
Sharp
man,
with it.
yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So how are you? Have you promoted with influencers yet, or are you?
Yeah,
talking to
one of my partners did Daily Harvest, and so Serena
Okay.
Williams and some other, they did athletes, they did influencers, they did a lot of that, and
Yeah.
it worked really well. One of our brands is called Jolie. It's a filtered shower head, and they've gone bonkers. They actually went 0 to 25 in a year,
Really?
and they're very profitable. And what they've done is target influencers more like you,
Okay.
where they're like, you know, they like not Mr. Beast, but like a level or two down, and not micro either. Like they found an army of influencers, and so now they profit over $500,000 a month,
That's insane.
which is crazy in your first year of business.
Right.
It's this filtered shower head. It's going bonkers.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're all influencers. They don't buy ads online. Very few.
That's
They
like
don't
the
do any
power of a
traditional
good
media.
influencer strategy. Like
Right.
if more companies just took the time to like really put out a viable measurement plan and like
Mm-hmm.
outline the strategies and just like really go all in on that. There is so much
Right.
power in that. But most companies just think of that as like a margin of the marketing plan.
Right, and they don't understand you can do it exclusively and
Right.
kill.
Right.
They've sprinted past all their competition.
Yeah, versus like traditional paid media channels and whatnot.
Right,
The
'cause
thing- the thing
CAC
about-
has risen so much.
The thing about influencers is that I feel like different influencers have different pull on different demographics. So the cool thing about YouTube as well is like, depending on the type of audience you have, is how much money you make per ad. So it's like if you have a lot of older moms, they're banking.
Yeah,
But
right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
right, because you can sell more with that. So like, I mean, dude, like you're talking about like CPMs, right? So it's like every 1,000 views, like I think mine's like $5 or something, or $3, and some of these people, dude, it's like $20. You know,
It's nuts.
yeah, it's crazy. $20, $40.
Yeah.
This is a lot to think about. It's like high volume work, right?
Yeah.
Like you're constantly having to strategize, think of new ways to engage with your audience, and
Innovate.
and
You have to innovate.
like
You
all
have to.
constantly. How are you finding ways to balance life? Like
I mean-
work-life balance. What's that look like for you?
I mean, to be honest, like Austin is just way too fun. I think like I am having a great time here in Austin.
Okay, good.
I think that like back when I was in San Antonio, it's kind of like there wasn't really anything to do on the weekends, so it was like full focus. And like I used to do daily videos, so like that was tough. I did daily on 2 channels for like 2 years, 3 years. But I think really it helps with a team. And I think for me, I'm like, it's like you said, like I have a lot of expertise in the space. So it's like, usually we'll like analyze like a trend, like and this is what I like to do, is like what's popping on YouTube, what type of challenge, and then implement it with my niche. So it's like, if you're, like there's this guy from Austin, Ryan Trahan, super good dude, right? And he started off with a penny, and he went down South Congress, and he was like trading stuff, and it went like super viral
Cool.
on YouTube. Yeah, so he's like massive, dude.
That's crazy.
And he's crushing it, right? So then I was like, what if we did that, but we did it with sneakers?
Yeah.
So doing things like that, I think, really help. Taking inspiration and then doing it, because you got to stay
Your
with
own
what's
way.
trending. And I
Yeah.
think even the psychology of like the kids is like, oh, he's doing trading. Like, you know, they'll watch it more. But I think like really it comes down to like having a solid team. For sure.
Yeah.
Having a solid team. Like right now, the video's being edited for tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
putting the final touches on. The thumbnail guy finished it on Wednesday, so that's ready to go.
Are those
Um,
guys in San Antonio? Or
The editor is, the filmer's out of Florida. I mean, the thumbnail guy's out of Florida.
Okay.
So it's just like freelance and stuff. And the team used to be way bigger too. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's all about teamwork.
How are you balanced? Like, what's your work-life balance? Like, you've been traveling a
I've been-
ton.
Yeah, I've been crushing the work-life
Yeah,
balance.
you've been
I feel
lifing.
like, yeah, I feel like I have gotten into a good place of just listening to my body more
Yeah.
and like noticing burnout, being way more okay. I think this is my first year ever where I'm just asking for help way more than I ever had before. I think that's like really important. But yeah, I think for me, it's just being super intentional with like how I spend my time, and that can be everything
Yeah.
from like what I'm consuming on TV, like what podcasts I'm listening to, what books I'm reading, like, and I've also noticed that like burnout can manifest in different ways. So even if I'm physically resting, if there's something weighing on my mind and I just have that internal loop like over and over again, and I'm not dealing with something, like burnout can also manifest like just from mentally not kind of like taking care of whatever you need to take care of. But
Do you find that expedited in either one of your paths? Like, do you find reaching a state of burnout coming quicker when you're styling work, when that's really heavy, or being at the behemoth of Google and like, yeah, having like a traditional kind of job?
yeah, I think for me it's a constant state of like trial and error, to be honest, because the styling stuff is still relatively new, and I do have like a full-time job with Google that will always like be my priority.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just about like just like week by week trying different things, and sometimes I push myself too far and I take note the next week and I try things differently. But it's really just about like creating daily, weekly, monthly systems for myself so that like I can get to a place where it's sustainable and I can continue to like, you know, say yes to wonderful opportunities that come my way, but also just like, yeah, I think it's like allowing for space for magic and like things to happen, because like if you're so heads down and not setting boundaries, that's another like huge thing for me, and you're not protecting your energy, then like you don't have room and space for like things to come your way. And I found that like especially after coming back from Paris, I was like living in Paris for almost 3 months over the winter. I just went there. I found that like just having that strong contrast of my day to day and just like being able to do a life audit and really examine like all the ways I'm spending my time, and kind of like being forced into this like much more simple way of life, much more isolating way of life. It's like peak winter. I don't speak, I'm like a 4th grade level French speaker.
Right.
I'm there by myself. So it like really forces you to like go inward.
Yeah.
And I think that like that's an extreme example, but like for me, it's just about like finding ways that you can get out of your comfort zone and really like get connected to yourself and like get closer to your inner voice, and like those things will become super clear, and you also will just be like, it will just become so much more viscerally like, yeah, I don't want to be spending my time doing that, or like I don't know if I need to be like doing that type of thing, or like I don't think that person would be that upset if I just communicated to them that like as much as I would love to join that party, like I need to like, I know that I can't show up as my best self.
Right. That's great
So
advice.
I think that there's
think-
like a lot of
yeah.
ways that can manifest.
I think where we were parallel is like you talked about energy.
Yeah.
You talked about energy and like, you know, being somewhere or being with someone or being around people.
Yeah.
You know, you want people that you give them energy and they give you energy.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
I was going to speak on that because I feel like if you're an introvert, right, you get energy from being by yourself and resting. But like
Yeah.
for me, I feel like being out social, that's my rest time,
Right.
you know?
Well, I am an extrovert too,
Right.
which is weird, but I
You're
think I feel
both.
like as I've getting older, I like still very much am an extrovert, but like I think that like the things that used to interest me socially like don't interest me as much anymore, and I've just like through my life experiences of like travel and stuff and just like seeing things through another lens and like having my mind expanded like more. It sounds like very kind of parallel to your experience, like probably how you felt when you like started spending more time in Austin from San
Right.
Antonio, and you're just like, oh wow, and then like you go back to another place and you're like,
Right.
yeah, like I don't really feel the need to like just be out for being out sakes,
Right.
and so
I don't need to go grab a taco.
that will like manifest for me by having like a 3-hour dinner like one-on-one with someone, and just having like someone who's like at my level and a same page of like energy,
Right.
and like just like not, and like really paying attention to like how people make you feel when
Right.
you're around them, like
Right.
who's
Right.
energy depleting and who's like energy giving, and
Right.
like that it's all connected.
Right.
Did the pandemic
So-
influence that at all? Like your consciousness of where I'm spending my energy, but also the like identifying more as an extrovert or an introvert?
I definitely wasn't at my level of like enlightenment that I'm experiencing right now during the pandemic. Like I was still just kind of trying to figure it out. Like I was in survival mode. I was like single, like working for an agency like in New York but living in Austin, but am I going to stay in Austin, or like am I going to go back to, like, I didn't have the space for
Right,
figuring that
sure.
out. I was just like in survival mode. And I think this has really just been the past year of me being like in this way more calm space of just like, even just South by was a
Right.
great example. Like past me would be like, I need to go to all the things, like FOMO, all
Right.
of that. And this year I was just like very intentional about like how I spent my time. Granted, I got back from Paris this Sunday before
Yeah.
before South by started, so I had like just went straight into it. But and then coming out of
To
it,
change your profile. Yeah.
coming out of it, I was just like, wow, I feel so proud of myself for
Right.
not getting caught up, and like that's the kind of stuff that makes me feel good now.
Right.
But yeah, no, I don't really know about, because I do feel like I'm still extroverted, but I also feel like I have less energy, but I also feel like I'm way more like mindful of where my energy is going. So I think it's like a thing that I'm still working through and like reconciling right now, but it's definitely like, I think that I'm just more focused. And so like, whereas my energy would be like more going out and doing this thing, my energy is like projects and like cultivating relationships and like continuing to grow spiritually and like plotting my next, like where am I going to be this summer? Cause I just want to like go bop around somewhere for a couple months.
Sure.
So it's still like a lot of output, but it just is going in different places at this point
I
in my
think
life.
what was pretty fascinating and like where we paralleled is where we were on the phone and you told me about what is the universe telling me
Yeah,
and what is the lesson I'm trying to learn.
yeah,
And I changed, I mean, when 2020, I think 2020 was a great example of like, in the lack of something, it will show, something will show itself. And I think it showed itself for you. You know what I mean? Like, I think we talked about it briefly where you're talking about like, whenever you're doing something you hate, all you're thinking about is doing something that you rather do. Like, you're thinking about doing something that you love, right? So
Yeah.
you have to go through that doing something you hate.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're just not fulfilled. You're just like, what the heck? What am I doing?
Well, I think it's just like when you're living out your purpose, you
Yeah.
start to see synchronicities. Like they're all around us.
Right.
And so like when you are doing something and you're in a wave that's like meant for you and meant for your purpose and it's just flowing, you start to see all these signs that are just like validating your experience and like proving that you're on the right path. And for me, that manifests through just like, I feel closer to like my inner voice than I ever had, that intuition. That's
Yeah.
just like that gut feeling when you're just like, oh, this like really doesn't feel good. Or
Right.
you're like, this is a fuck yes
Yeah.
situation for sure. Like that voice for me is so loud.
right.
And it's just like, because I've just kind of adjusted my entire lifestyle to like cultivate that thing.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's really also like I'm peak Virgo, like big list maker, love to be in control, like all these things. I think my word for 2023 is just surrender. So for me, it's just about like letting go and not being so tied to an outcome. And like my life looks very different right now than I thought it was going to look at this age. We like have societal kind of like pressures and
Right.
like people telling us, and so like it's always dope to like meet people who like went on a completely different path and we're just like, yeah, I'm just like doing my thing in my lane, and like that's awesome. And I struggled with that for a long time, and that was my like that was a way that like imposter syndrome showed up for me. And so now I'm just like, fuck it, like there's things that are like my value set and like my purpose, and those are the things that are driving me. And then like if I let those things guide, then like the other things will follow. And it's just like just letting go a little
Right.
bit, like letting it flow.
Ryan, what's your gut feeling when starting a Cactus-based vodka brand in Austin, Texas, where there's like
The only
every other
one?
spirit in town is
Right.
competing
Right.
for the middle shelf, right?
Well, this is the only one, right?
Or the top
only-
shelf.
Yeah, we're the
The elite
only
shelf.
one.
The elite shelf.
We're the only one in the world just made from cactus. There's
Yeah.
ones that use it a little bit, and it's been strange. You know, you talked about the negativity. Like, I don't have social media, so my partner had to show me someone was talking shit on our page. He was like, I didn't know they had potatoes in the desert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, almost no vodkas you know of use potatoes. Like Tito's is corn, D-Bay is
Right.
corn.
Sounds like he
They'll-
needs a little bit of that to chill out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you should have some vodka. But. So I guess your question is like, how do you start something so psychotic?
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
like seriously, like we're in the homeland of. Can I speak the other brands' names?
100%,
Okay, so you've got
of
like
course.
Tito's here, who's like
Yeah, dude, Tito's is a hero of ours,
he is
obviously.
a hero, and they do such great things. But like,
Yep.
there's room for something new.
We're super non-competitive with Tito's in one way, which is we're $60 and he's 20. And so our real competitors are like Casamigos,
Okay.
people like that. That's the occasion. That's
Yeah.
the same kind of person.
Yeah.
That we're one of the 5 cocktails on the menu. And you know, this is our vibe.
Yeah.
People
Right.
like the handmade in the process. And the handmade, Tito's was the first person to do that, right? And he was the first person to kind of run up the beach on I'm a tiny liquor company. Before craft liquor was not really a thing.
Small batch.
And then Tito's was like, now he's the largest liquor company
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
And you
which
can
is
find them
crazy.
all over Europe.
They're
Like,
the number 1 liquor in Lebanon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Great.
because like living in Paris where they don't have, like, it's hard to find liquor, and you would still see like Tito's in a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of places.
And
It's
that's a
crazy.
gin country too.
Yeah.
And so I guess the reason why, so my partner came to me, he came up with the idea, Logan did,
Okay.
Slager. And he played middle linebacker at TCU. He's a wild man.
Yeah.
And my career before starting the fund, because we had this idea before the fund, and it just blossomed way after the fund. Fund got started way quicker. Turns out it was really hard to make Cactus vodka. We would have done it differently if we had understood how difficult it is. My partner came to me, and my history before, speaking of Nepo babies, is I always use, way before Nepo babies, I was using the nepotism joke. Because I worked for my dad, and my dad is a very good retail strategist. And he did the retail strategy for Monster Energy and Amy's Kitchen and Emergency and all these brands.
Amazing.
And so I always have these jokes. Like, I grew up in the natural foods world. Like, my dad brought the first gluten-free bread home. He was like, this is gluten-free bread. I'm like, what is it? He's like, I don't know. And I remember we tried it, and my dad was like, man, I don't know what gluten is, but it's fucking delicious. This is horrible. And I was like, back when it sucked. Like, now it's really good,
yeah.
you know? And so I always, I know this is a side tangent, but when people ask, like, how did you start a venture fund at 30? I'm like, I have a bunch of advantages from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I was able to do those things.
Yeah.
I was able to be a VP of sales at 25, 24. And so, you know, I know that feeling of being like, I'm too young to be in this room,
Right.
you know. And one thing I noticed, though, was a pattern. Like, we worked with Whole Foods mostly. And, like, Siete is a really good example of an icon that we follow, which is that if my partner would come to me and be like, let's do a tequila, I'd be like, absolutely not. There's a million. No, the world needs far less tequilas.
Yeah.
It'd be like we need it in our canned cocktail brand. There's an infinity of those.
Yeah.
So when he came to me and was like, I want to do a vodka, I said no. And he's like, but it's made out of cactus. And I'm like, that's insane. And that's so stupid. And I'm in. And that's crazy. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I was like,
that
that's
was your
going to
hell
be
yes,
different.
That was the gut.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cactus. Because I just think the cactus is cool as shit.
Totally.
I just do. And when people ask, like, did you know? Because it uses way less water. And it's very Marfa-y
Yeah.
and, you know, Santa Fe vibes. And people are like, why did you decide to do it? I'm like, because I thought it was cool. That's it. That's the only reason. I didn't think it would taste better. I didn't think it was sustainable. I didn't know any of that.
Is it a specific type of cactus?
Prickly pear.
It's a prickly
It's the
pear.
fruit of the
It's a
prickly
fruit.
pear.
Okay.
And then they hand harvest that in San Luis Potosí, Mexico.
Yeah.
And we pay all the pickers like 3 times more.
Cool.
Which I'm not gonna lie is easy because they do not get paid very much. But the guy who runs the ranch won't let us pay him anymore.
Okay.
He's like,
Wow.
they'll leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, but I want to pay him a lot.
Yeah.
And so they hand harvest it. There's no machine that can. So
Yeah.
like corn. No offense to Tito's, again, that's a
Yeah.
hero. Corn is like this giant machine. It's very industrial. Ours is like quiet, birds and bees, guys just picking off
Beautiful.
these pears, and then we puree it in this big, deep purple puree, and then we ship it to San Antonio where we ferment it and then we distill it. So it's
Very
the
cool.
most process involved, the handmade liquor I'm aware of, and that's because that's the only way to make it. We don't. If we could have made it less artsy, we would have done that. But
Yeah.
it's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so when we started getting into the process of the Cactus vodka, it reminded me of Siete with the grain-free, making it from something else. And so when you ask why, I had that fuck yes was like I had seen success in being super different, and I'd rather die being different than try to succeed being the same. And not because that sounds cool, but because I knew we were fucked if we tried to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Why? When I got into Ranch 616 in Commodore, they asked the same question. I walked in, I'm like, I got a vodka to pitch you. And they're like, why? Who needs another vodka? And I'm like, it's made of prickly pear cactus. And they're like, you have my attention. That's weird.
Yeah.
And so the weird factor just keeps getting us in everywhere.
Yeah.
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 And so I remember Mark, the old GM, I sat down with him. It was the easiest pitch ever. He was already a fan. And when I sat down, I'm like, hey, I'm with High Desert. He's like, you're in. And I'm like, why? And he's like, look at the bar. And he's like, this all is boring as fuck. And High Desert's cool and it's different and I want it. And it's
Yeah.
more us. So let's do it.
That's dope.
It was like a 2-minute pitch.
Different
so
makes
good.
it, man.
What was that?
Different makes it.
Yeah.
Different, yeah,
just
you
like,
have to be.
I was talking to Kyle, one of our producers, is like, it's like we do this set and it's just like it's different.
Right.
It costs a lot more money.
Yeah.
It's not efficient, but we get to express our art in it, just like you get to express yours. You're creative, all that stuff. It's like, I mean, the money. Yes, we're gonna lose some, we're gonna win some.
Yeah.
But like the art of like building it is where we're at, and I think that's where we're all at. We're all in it, in that, in your fashion and your creative, like us as friends, like just in our ventures. It's like different is great, man.
Totally.
It's just like we're seeing all this shit, and we're just like, oh, should we do this? And it's like, well, no one's doing it.
It like opens the door to just
Yeah,
do
it's like-
anything, like,
yeah, and it's like-
constantly. It's like, and I think it speaks to that entrepreneurial spirit of all
Right.
of us, like that passion to just do.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's become maybe the easiest time to
Right.
create. I feel very fortunate to be able to do that with you. So
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
different was I mean, what do they say with Uber? It's like, who would ever think like someone would get in a car with a complete stranger?
Somebody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that was
different.
Yeah.
that was very different at the time.
Airbnb got strangers living in your house.
Right, because it's very different.
Right.
I
It's
also
even-
resonate with what you were saying though about like the manager, the buyer saying like, this is us. It's like, you've done branding well when the consumer's like, oh, this is me. This is my personal brand. So to like have buy-in and people just be like, yeah, like I'm weird. Like to have
Yeah.
that like resonate with like
Right.
just them seeing themselves in the brand. Like that's a win.
It was powerful for us personally, obviously, when Soul House was like,
Yeah.
you're us.
That's it.
Yeah.
You were-
And
you
you
were-
get those
that's-
drinks
like, that's my drink.
anywhere,
You were
or
right on
is it
target.
Austin exclusive?
So we're only in Austin, and we're gonna stay in Austin. There's a wonderful tequila company called Lalo, and you know them, right?
I know Lalo as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
got
So
right
Jim and
there.
David are friends, and then Greg, their head of marketing, is really cool.
Yeah.
He's a friend, and I was in a wedding with Jim and David in San Miguel de Allende, and we all got drunk, and they were just like, "Hey, man, you just stick in Austin." You do it slow. You stay
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
He actually was adamant. He's like, "Don't buy billboards." We actually got a free billboard. And Jim texted. He's like, "No one listens to me." And we're like, "It was free, dude. We didn't buy it." And he was like, "You losers! I did a billboard. I told you not to do it." Yeah. And it was so funny. But like, so we're taking their advice. It's not just Lalo. There's a bunch of brands. And they've just told us like super slow. We've had influencers and celebrities approach us. Jack Nicklaus, the famous golfer, is our main
Right.
investor.
Sick.
And they've been like, "Do you want us to post about it?" I'm like, "No, you can buy it in 30 places in Austin."
Yeah.
Like the guy in Palm Beach is gonna be like, "What am I supposed to do with this post?"
Right.
Right.
You know, and so we're gonna get there, but we're gonna get there slowly. And LA is actually
course.
where we want to go next,
Amazing.
I mean,
see
I
the
love
market.
It's just it's another market to them. Right?
and it ends up being inauthentic.
You does.
Right.
And you can't be $60 Cactus vodka and be inauthentic. You're screwed if you do that.
Yeah, totally.
I
That's
think.
awesome. Cool.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. If there's anything we missed,
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to do?
not really. I think I'm just very thankful and fascinated with the fact that you guys were be able to do this with us. I think we're a very diverse group of people. Tim, we're very close. Grew up in the same area of San Antonio,
Yep.
Love that.
and
Same
I
school,
think
same high school.
Nice.
my mom taught him.
His mom taught me.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's crazy that we're this close, but then we're also this far, you know. But now we're close, and we're bringing these people together, and that's what this is about. He has a craft, you have a craft, you have a craft. It's just it's a beautiful thing. I think we're doing something different, you know, and I'm glad that you guys are a part of it.
Yeah, thank you. This is cool as
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
We're just here for the conversation,
Awesome.
right? But if there's anything else we missed, did we miss anything from you guys that you guys want to highlight?
No,
it's
I
been
just
super
think
cool.
what you guys are doing is really cool. I love the concept of bringing people together from totally different backgrounds. No any other forum where I would have the chance to talk to you guys like this. So I think it's really cool, and it's just rare to have the opportunity to talk to people in completely different backgrounds, crafts, etc. So I just really appreciate the space to do that.
We're
We
so
appreciate
grateful
you
to
guys.
have y'all, for sure. This is an awesome experience. Y'all's stories are beautiful and comedic and all the whole nine. So it's really, really special to be here.
Yeah.
And all of you have such a, I think, impact on each of us, right? Like Simone, you're someone that's very, very close to me nowadays, and Ryan, from day one, I've been like, that's my guy. So I feel very grateful to be able to call on you guys. And I think that's also something so special about Austin. I wear this by way of Dallas jersey, but I claim Austin so hard because of the warmth and hospitality that it's brought to in my life. And I think it speaks through the friendships that are made here. And so I really appreciate you
You
guys.
guys are
being
gonna crush
visible.
this. You bring your fantastic energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys.
Awesome, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yay.
Let's take two.
Yeah, that's it.
All
We
right.
would cheers, but we don't got no drinks.
Yeah, we got no
Yeah,
drinks.
yeah.
Where do we do the dances for the intro?
The dances for the intro on every single chair in